And we are live. Hey guys, Darren here. Welcome to Mayhem Country Living. Hope you guys are doing okay. I'm trying something a little different. I'm also recording this. Hello. So maybe we can get some video shorts or some small videos out of it. But I hope you guys are doing all right. I have been slacking in the time slots, but we have had pressing things. How about this rain here in the deep south? If you guys are in this area of this area, holy cow, at least it isn't snow and ice. That's one thing I have to say. I see we got one person on here. Whoever pops in, if you would just let me know, give me a sound check to let me know that I am audible, and that would be pretty good. What have you guys been doing? Hope you guys been doing all right. I have, well, first of all, Hot Rodney, yes, absolutely, you are correct. It is salmon patties or salmon croquette that I had posted earlier. So, yes, you are indeed correct. That was what I had. We were getting ready to do, and I may do a video of it. It's our first time in doing it in a very long time, but we'll see. What are you guys doing to get ready for spring? Have you been composting? A little bit, me, a little bit. Not as much as I should have been. Do you have a place where you take all the eggshells and and the coffee grounds and all the scraps? Hey, Doc, how are you doing? Hey, Marvin, how are you doing, buddy? But do you guys have a place where you're putting all this stuff? Because it really goes a long way. What about your leaves out of your yard from the winter, raking them up, putting them in a pile? If that's all you do, you're a lot better off than most people, uh, just because it is a really good amendment to have. Or mulch them up, put them in your garden, your grass, if that's what you're going to do. Rake them into the garden. That is going to be really good. Do you have a fireplace? Take those ashes, spread them out, dump them in the garden. That'll go a really long way with your spring garden. What are you guys thinking about planting? Marvin, Doc Falcon, y'all going to do any kind of planting in your garden or your front porch, anything like that? Yeah, my hair is nice because it a hard hat and you wear it wet. Holy cow! And it makes it look fantastic. People pay money to have hair like mine. Not really. Um, hey, Sandy, how are you doing today? Black coffee. Good stuff. Do some tomatoes in some 5-gallon buckets. That's pretty good. That's a lot better than most people. I was looking out at the greenhouse, and it is sorely lacking because of all the cold weather. And I was planting those onion bags, and I was thinking I need to throw a little bit of basil on this, or some oregano, or some thyme seeds, something like that. I do not have any herb seed out of it, I guess. So one of the things I'm going to do is oregano, thyme, parsley. Yep. My sage is kicking butt and doing good. Good stuff, Doc. What kind of tomatoes you thinking about growing? Too lazy and just use the motor on the mower. Hey, I understand completely, buddy. I went out yesterday. I was going to do a video. You see the chainsaw in the background. I went out and did a whole bunch of cutting on that chicken area, on that fence, and We had some nice weather, and it wasn't raining, wasn't too cold, wasn't too hot. Romas are good tomatoes. Those are good. Those are a good paste tomato. Hang on. This guy has been super duper. I cut down about 15 trees. Big around as my leg, a little bit bigger. Cut them and bucked them up, limbed them on one battery charge. This is the 40-volt Cobalt Max. I gotta say, guys, this thing does pretty good. I have to do a video of it. I did a video when I bought it, but I hadn't really used it like I used it yesterday. And I put it to some good use. The chain, it's actually pretty good. Comes with the oiler, and I got no complaints out of it. Now, honestly, though, if you're on a homestead and you're doing a whole lot of stuff, if you're cutting firewood, you're going to need a good gas weed eater. That's my thought, anyway. Yes, Marvin. I know you had mentioned about doing mushrooms. I'm curious to see what kind you are and how you're going to inoculate them. You're going to drill plugs in the hardwoods. You're going to lay them down, the hardwood hunks. You're going to lay them down and then drill and inoculate them. I've been reading up on it, but I'm not ready to pull the trigger just yet. But I have seen some videos where you get tons of mushrooms. Yeah, some of them are oysters. Some of them are the white buttons. But they are just really, really nice looking tomatoes. Or not tomatoes, mushrooms. Something I've been kind of looking at, but I want Marvin to do it first. I was watching someone, they had a video where they put them in wire baskets full of hay. And then they inoculate them, spray them with water, and it just grows tons of more mushrooms. And mushrooms are expensive. I bought a little tub of them. These are portobellas that I in my dehydrator next door here, and it was like $3 for a little basket of these things. Man, that's good. Got a good earthy flavor. You can't beat that. I understand. They even have a powder. It's called the Seven Sisters, something like that. It's a powder of 7 medicinal mushrooms, and you mix it in with your coffee and take a spoonful of that, and it's like $30 for a 2-month supply. And it's really good, really antiviral, anti-cancer properties, what they say. But who knows? I still want to do it, though, because I like mushrooms. I'll eat them uncooked. To me, they're just pretty dang good. Seed catalogs. This is the time to sit down while the weather's cold and nasty, all that nasty weather we had. Now is the time to sit back and look at the seed catalogs. Whether you're doing the Parks or the Burpee or any of them, just whoever you like as far as the seed catalogs. Hey, one day at a time. Hope you're doing all right, buddy. I hope you're not getting all this nasty wet weather. Well, it may be coming down your way. But now is the time to sit back. Yeah, you're going to do Romas, Doc Falcon, but what kind of Romas? Um, there's all different kinds. And so now is a good time. Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah. I figured it was. I drove 3 hours and it poured down. I drove 3 hours, 65 miles an hour, and it poured down. Um, it was a lot of rain. But now's the time to sit down and go through your catalogs, look at what you got, what you need, what you want. And we always have that exotic stuff, those 3 foot long beans that you plant and they never do anything. But, who knows? This year you might get lucky. Poor cat hid under the bed. Well, there you go. You're drilling plugs. Okay. You ought to do a video on that, Marvin. Post it on Facebook, at least. Um, I, I am not opposed. I would love to do it with someone who knows much more about it than I do, because um, I know like one type of mushroom, and that's reishi. And I pick them whenever I see them and dry them out. I've got a couple of them. The big ones look like a kind of a red kidney bean. They don't have gills. They have spore holes or spore slots, something like that. Those are the only ones I know about, really, that I feel comfortable picking and using. I use those in medicinal teas and stuff like that. Really good uh, medicinal properties with them. But now, everything we did last year that screwed up in the garden, it didn't work, we start over. So it's like a clean slate. Draw out the garden, put it out, see what you like. Which way does the sun come up? Which way does the sun go down? Are you behind a fence? Do you have a microclimate back there? Is it warmer there than it is in the front? Hey, Squintin. I ordered a bunch of wild mushroom spores, plant in a shady part of my garden, layered with wood chips. Wood chips. Hey, that's pretty good. I have read that's how you do it. Spray them down a little bit, keep them moist, and let them go. Yeah, Doc, it is indeed a learning thing. But you see what does good, and then like last year I found out about crookneck squash versus straight neck squash. Straight neck squash does better down here in deep south, and yeah, Marvin, they can be quite expensive, and you can make a little bit of money off of it, and you're harvesting it, so it's not like you're out hunting for ginseng or anything like that, because it's in your backyard or wherever you want it on your property. Oh yes, kudzu. It was an incredible harvest. It was a bounteous harvest of kudzu. It'll be back. I'm quite sure. That and poison ivy. I can grow some poison ivy on this property. Tell you what. Um, but now's the time to just kind of sit back and figure out what you like and what you don't like. Um, yeah, Marvin, it is. That's what I was saying, and it has a lot of good benefits with it as well. But see what you like, see what you don't like. If you don't like eggplant, don't plant eggplant. I mean, that's the kind of thing that I always end up doing, because I want to plant so much stuff. And if you have room for 20 tomatoes, don't germinate 100 tomatoes. That's something that I do all the time. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Quentin. Yeah. Um, the kudzu it's a lot. When I was cutting trees yesterday, uh, there were the trunks of the poison ivy plants that were going up the tree, and they were bigger than my wrist, and so I cut a good 1 foot long notch out of them with a chainsaw, and then I will pull them away from the tree, and hopefully that will help with the poison ivy. Yeah, Rabbits will. They do like kudzu. Goats do too. Um, I have had the oyster mushrooms and the chicken of the woods, but I have not had any others, and I would not know how to harvest, uh, what to look for myself. So yeah, like I said, I need to go. And there's some groups that I have done a little bit of research on that get together once a month in Jefferson County, about 30, 40 miles away, and they'll get together and walk around on some property and look for edible mushrooms. Um, Kind of like Central Alabama Mushroom Society or something like that. But think about what you want, what kind of beans you want. Do you want beans? What are you going to plant? Where are you going to plant it? How did it do last year? Did you do it last year? That kind of stuff. It's just things we do to make us live through winter. I would say. I remember my granddaddy, he'd sit down with all his magazines and he'd sit in the recliner and I'd sit there in his lap and we'd look at all this and all that. And he'd point out this and that's wild. That's tobacco. And grow this and grow this and grow that. And then he'd always plant the same thing though. Sometimes he would get, a pack of seeds or something like that, or flower seeds that I liked. But his garden was mainly to eat. It was a subsistence garden. So that was always something. And I guess that's what I always enjoyed so much about gardening is the fact that I always did it with my grandfather, whether I was holding the tiller or, poking my finger in the dirt or taking the dipper, watering the seeds. Cause that's all granddaddy, he didn't water the garden. He would take a galvanized bucket, or I would take a 5 gallon, or not a 5 gallon, but a gallon galvanized bucket and a dipper, and he would show me how to dip it. And he put one dipper full of water all the way down. And in the hottest part of the summers, that was all he would do. Be careful one day at a time. Have a good evening, buddy. Don't work too hard. But that was just how he did it. And, and of course, everybody used the fertilizers back then. So you just poured the 10, 10, 10 or the 13, 13, 13 to the corn and everything, which, I'm not knocking it. That was just how they did it. I'm not going to point my finger and say, well, that was wrong. It's just how they did it. And so we find better ways, be it through composting or permaculture or anything like that. Maybe it helps. It's got to help. Can't hurt anyway, because we're keeping all that stuff out of the landfills. Yes, sir, Doc. I am a sucker for punishment. So I'm going to do corn again. I'm going to see how many deer I can get to lay down on my corn this year. Last year it was one, but he rolled all over the corn. So that 20-foot section, that's all it planted was a 20-foot square. So that 20-foot square of corn was flat. So this year I'm going to expand to 40 feet and see if I can get 2 deer to come out there and roll around in it. Who knows? Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. Never done any soybeans. Never done any of them. So I don't know about them. But it's just different stuff, and I'm excited. We're getting ready to start clearing all that. Hey, buddy, that's Surviving in Alabama, guys. If you hadn't gone to his channel, you need to go take a look at it. He's a good friend of mine, and he does a lot of stuff. He don't live too far away, just down the road, so we get together whenever we can. So subscribe to his channel, Surviving in Alabama, on YouTube. I think that's right. I'll remember that, Doc. But what kind of cucumbers do you want to do? Do you want to do the 8-inch purpless cukes, or whatever you want to do? I tried doing those little bitty ones that they call them lemon cucumbers. They're look like a baby watermelon, but those didn't do that well. So I just want enough cucumbers to make 5 or 6 gallons of fermented cucumbers, maybe enough for some salads, and then go on from there. My beans did okay. Tomatoes did really good, but it's just seeing what you want to do. I'm not going to do 50 different varieties of tomatoes this year. I'll probably just do the ones that my wife likes: the Roma's Early Girl, Early Boy, Better Girl, and then some of the big whopper ones for sandwich tomatoes. Beans, I'm not quite sure what we're going to do. I always liked runner beans. I always liked them running. I don't know why. I guess that's because what my granddaddy did, although to me those things are more work than the bush beans. Yeah, I had those little, they call them lemon cukes or lemon balls, and again they're about as big as a golf ball, and they taste lemony, and they grew, and I had 1 or 2, but the straight 8s, they did really good, and the straight neck squash and the zucchini, those things did good. So that's kind of the stuff that I'm gonna be doing, and hopefully we'll double the garden. And like I said, I've already been cutting down trees, getting ready to expand that area back there. So it's all a work in progress. I tried to burn some stuff yesterday, but I couldn't get the diesel to light. I had 2 gallons of diesel, and the diesel just was paper towel on a rag on stuff, and it would just light for a second, and then it would just go out. And I was like, have they changed the formula or anything like that? But it just, well, yeah, but I mean, I would just pour diesel on the rag, and it just wouldn't burn that much. I don't know if I got a bad tank or something like that, but it just didn't do that well. But way she goes. After the first of the month, I'll go ahead and start pulling down that fence around the chicken area, and then we'll get to expanding it. So hopefully, yeah, I was really surprised. They got hit with a mildew and squash bug. Sprayed it was too late. I'm definitely putting it in some different places. Yeah, I don't blame you. Once you get squash bugs, it's kind of like a race to get the squash before the squash bugs get it. Way it is. But we still have stuff, squash and zucchini from the summer that we froze and made it like a quasi casserole, but chunky enough you can pull it out and heat it up, and it's still really good. Hope that the carrots are going to do okay, and we'll see. I just don't know. Some of it, Chris, surviving in Alabama, was showing me how he does all of his carrots, and so I modeled after him. Okay, surviving in Alabama says cedar chips around the squash, and it seemed to work. Hey, Rocco, what are you doing? Dude, you're late. I'm just messing with you. Oh, and tell Pete I said, hey, Sergeant Rocco. But the nice thing about the winter is you do get the time to plant for spring, whether it's the heirloom stuff that, like I said, you sat down with your grandfather and they planted and figured out as to what you're going to do. And, you know, all five of us eat 7 ears of corn when it's time to eat. So we need to plant X if we're going to have all of this going into it. Or how many, how much garlic do we use in the house, in the home, on the property. One thing I do want to do, I want to do an honest to goodness garlic patch and an onion patch and just plant them and leave them alone. I've got my asparagus. I did asparagus and they're, scraggly, iffy, but I want to do an honest to goodness garlic and onion patch. And I remember, again, a lot of this comes from my grandfather, and he had they were as big, 10 feet around, patch of garlic and onions, and the garlic would get 3 feet tall with the big bulbs, and tell him I said, hey, back. Yes, sir. I planted a bunch of garlic, and I planted shallots, and I planted a bunch of onions. So we'll see. I planted them, well, back in the fall. Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Is some perennial stuff, and they multiply. And I pick the asparagus off, and I'll plant a whole bunch more. It's not in the best place where I put it. I do want to do, guys, if you know or see anybody that is selling Jerusalem artichokes in your area, let me know, because I'll buy them and pay postage and all that stuff. Yeah, I love it. The asparagus, whether it is the white kind, which is rare, or the purple kind, or just the green kind, that stuff is really good. And there's another there's another perennial that I'm looking for. The grow lights just flipped off. They're on timers. Can't remember the name of it. Yes, she would actually probably know about them. They're a tuber. It's kind of like a potato, but tastes like artichoke or asparagus. And you pull them up and you can cut them up and cook them just like a potato or asparagus, either or. So they're pretty good. And they are perennial, and they're also considered almost an invasive species. So you plant them and you put a border around it, dig the border in about 6 inches, because those guys will jump. But if you have those things, you'll never be hungry. You might not like it after a while, but you'll always have something to eat. Can't remember the name of that other plant. It's perennial and it's a medicinal, and it's also edible. It's an herbal. Can't remember the name of it. Anyway, that's nice. Yeah, I have oregano. Well, I may not have it after the freeze, but I had a lot of it just growing in little nooks and crannies along fences all around the property. We'll have to see how it did, because my dedicated little patches, they did not make it. But we'll see. All right, guys, we are at 30 minutes. Oh, yeah, it's amazing once you walk through it or just pick it, run your hand across it. It smells great. But we are at 30 minutes. So I'm going to wrap this up. I know you guys got stuff to do. Thanks for coming by, and thanks for hanging out. I'm still going to try to do these at 6 p.m. I have to figure out something on the weekends, because sometimes the weekends get hectic. You know how it is. Oh, I picked the wild onions. We eat them. Yes. Those things are good, buddy. But you guys take it easy. I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for hanging out with me. Think about what you're going to be planting. And I'm going to try to start doing these a little bit more structured so I just don't ramble on and on. Comfrey. Comfrey. That's the name of the other plant. Because it is a dynamic accumulator also. That's a big word. You guys look that up. Comfrey. Take care of you people, guys. Ahala. See ya.